Hello everyone and welcome to a special pre-season video for the FF UK League. Welcome back to anyone joining us, and I've got a couple of very special guests with me as always. Pete Cronin, welcome back for another season. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing very well, thanks. Very excited for the new season.
Good, that's what I like to hear. And I also have Paul Baker, or Bakes. How are you feeling about the new season? Welcome back.
Very excited, Chris. Very excited. Last season was a bit of a damp squib, so looking to get straight back in this season.
Good. Okay, so yeah, on that we've got all the leagues are live and they're filling up nicely. So we've got around 180, 185 in the main league at the moment, and that's going up every day. We've got 55 or so in the Conts League, and that's still filling up, so that's really good. And then the head-to-head division is also live, so that's all filling up as well. But this video, the first part thing we're going to do is a very special new prize that we are offering this season. So rather than the traditional best game week score prize that we've done in the past, where we offer 1 to 4 prizes to the top scores for the season, we're going to do something slightly different this season. So we're going to pick at random now, or in a moment, 4 game weeks from the season. And those game weeks are going to have a very special £50 prize for the manager of that week. So we'll know, obviously, the 4 game weeks coming up after the draw. And obviously, you can plan accordingly to win that prize. So Pete, I think, is going to draw. Sorry, let me get this right. Bakes, you're going to draw the first half.
Yep.
So you're going to draw the first 2 from your hat, and Pete's going to draw the second 2 from his bowl. So we've got everything going on here, traditional to stag do, hen do approach. Right, so without further ado, let's get on with it, because we want to chat about some tips category afterwards. So, Bakes, if you've got your hats ready to go, we can pick out. So just before you do that, we have removed some game weeks. So we've removed the first game week because it's a bit much to do that the first game week. We've also removed the 9th week, which is our Conts first eviction event, and that's for Halloween. And we've also removed the 17th, 18th, and 19th because they are the 12 Conts of Christmas. If you're in that league, and we just thought it'd be better to do it on a separate week to those.
Correct.
So,
and Valentine's, I think.
Oh, and we've also removed Valentine's from the second half of the season. Yeah, thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
So, Bakes, do you want to go for it and draw the first one?
So I have my hat. I'm going to mix up. I have pieces of paper for each of the 14 out of the 19 game weeks, therefore, that are in scope for our manager of the game week prize. So give that a little mix up. I'm going to draw the first one. Game week number 14, I think that is. 14. Game week 14.
14. So
something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm just going to look exactly when that is.
1 and 4. 14.
5th of December. First weekend of December.
A little mix up. I think, given what we're going to be talking about in a minute, having game weeks 2, 3, or 4 would be exciting. But let's see what we come up with. This is game week number 7. Game week number 7.
There is something.
For Captain Holland.
Something to discuss that week. So game week 7 is the 17th of October. Man City play Ipswich Town that week, so that could be an interesting one. Okay, so we've got 14 and 7 so far. And Pete, would you like to draw your 2 numbers?
I shift to the bowl, mix them up a little, put them back in. All right, so no looking. All right, so first one then is game week 22, 2 Little Ducks. Can't see it there.
22. So that is 23rd of January. Arsenal Newcastle that day. Ipswich Hull.
Ipswich
All
Hull.
right, and then the last one.
Man United Liverpool that week as well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Game week 27.
27. Well, that's quite good because they're quite nicely spread out there.
I know, yeah.
So 27 is the 27th of February, end of February. Well, we've got Man United, Arsenal that weekend, Spurs, Liverpool.
City at Hull as well. That could be.
Oh yeah, wow, that is handy. Okay, so those 4 game weeks, we'll obviously put this up on the site and share it. But those 4 game weeks, there's going to be a £50 prize for the top scoring manager of that game week. Hits are included, we decided. So we will obviously check your score, and if you've taken those hits, then you probably won't win it. So we'll keep an eye on that, and there'll be more. We'll come back to you with news about that. But we need to do the draw first. But yeah, game week 7, game week 14, game week 22, and game week 27. And obviously we'll highlight that in the WhatsApp group so that everyone knows when it's coming. And we've got our first. Oh yeah, we've got some viewers online watching, which is good. Hello, Mark Starbox. Lovely. Okay, so we're going to move on to chat about chip strategy, because that's kind of why we're here. Because if nothing else, we're not exactly sure what to do. So best thing to do is chat about it, and hopefully we'll come to some kind of resolutions. So we've got a fixture list here. So this is the game week 1 to game week 5. And this is low fixture difficulty. Game week 5, after that is the international break. So I think a lot of our chat will be centered around this period. We have got another fixture ticket if we need it. So Bakes, you had an idea around a strategy. So do you want to talk about that first, and then we can talk about some other stuff? And Pete, you can chirp in with your views as well.
As in the an early bench boost.
Yeah, I mean that's what is really popular with content creators at the moment.
Yeah, it's all the chat on all the podcasts seems to be about doing an early bench boost, and I think there's pros and cons to doing that. Pros are you kind of get it out of the way because it can be a bit of a pain, and you can kind of end up ripping up your squad to do a bench boost, and is that really worth it? So you get it out of the way. You also get off to a fast start, so whatever those points you get from your bench boost. And that's useful, right? Because I think we've all found that being a front runner is certainly easier, I think, than playing catch up. So getting off to a fast start is always great. The other thing, though, to say about doing an early bench boost is it does kind of force you into it, not necessarily, but likely force you into an early wildcard. And this is where a lot of the chat is being centered around. Bench boost maybe as early as game week 1 or game week 2. And then when the fixtures turn, sort out your team, play an early wild card, maybe game week 4 when a few of the team's fixtures turn, or after game week into game week 6 after the international break. And there's a good reason for doing that, because if you've got a bench boost, you're going to want 15 playing players. So that will include a second keeper and all of your attackers playing. Now, traditionally, when we set our squads at the start of the season, we'll normally have a 4.0 keeper that likely doesn't play, and we might have a 4.5 attacker who really doesn't play very much. And we leave them on our bench. We maximize our funds in our first 11. Can't do that if you're aiming for a bench boost. You need 15, ideally 15 playing players. So this is one of the downsides, is that we can't maximize the amount of funds we're putting into our first 11 if we do this. So we're going to want to do a wildcard fairly early to correct a lot of that, bring back in the 4.0 keeper, bring back in the cheap attacking player. So this seems to be the route that people are talking about. Bench boost, game week 1 or game week 2, wild card, maybe as early as game week 4, maybe game week 6. And then you put on top of that the triple captainship, and a lot of people are looking at game week 3 for the triple captainship, because Man City, as we can see on here, home to Coventry, or possibly game week 7 when they're at home to Ipswich. So there's a real kind of, feeling here around getting these chips out early, bench boost game week 1 or 2. And we can talk about which one of those two, the pros and cons of each one of those two. Wildcard, maybe game week 4, triple captain, maybe game week 3 or game week 7. So really getting those chips out early.
Okay, that was a lot of options there. Pete, what's your first thoughts on it?
My first thoughts are, initially I was quite surprised to see it so widespread in discussion, but I guess that's learning from last season, and that just sort of waiting to see actually can cause obstacles especially in the, as Paul said, in the redundant keeper that you have to work towards, I guess. Or sorry, you either have a redundant keeper at the start and have to get rid of them in order to bench boost, or you play out with your wild carded in game week 1 team, fresh 15 players, and then you can wild card out of it and concentrate on your season and use your transfers to maximize your 11. I was just surprised to see it's quite so widespread. I've heard a couple of mates in the league who are definitely not gonna play a early bench boost.
Interesting.
And I've seen a couple of online teams which I thought were quite interesting. People that are definitely going to hedge their bets and watch the season unravel before they make a choice. However, today I'm leaning towards using it, and it's exactly because of that keeper. Because I did have a 4 million goalkeeper at the start of last season, and all my transfers, I'm constantly thinking, well, I'm going to have to at some point bring in a playing keeper using my transfers in order to bench boost. And I think I also last season.
Yeah, you could do it.
Well, you've got your wild card, but you could do. Yeah, there's two ways of doing it. You can wild card into your bench boost, but then that prevents you from an early wild card.
It also means you're wild carding in that 4.5 keeper that then sits on your bench doing nothing for the whole season. Isn't it better? The thinking isn't it better to do it the other way around?
Absolutely.
Start with your playing second keeper and then wild card them out early on.
Yeah. I guess what the unknown is, they could become a 4.0 goalkeeper at some point in the season. It just takes one injury to a 4.5 goalkeeper and you have a 4.0 coming in. So
I have to say it's looking unlikely. There aren't that many backups that are at 4.0.
Right.
There's only like 3 or 4 maximum.
I mean, that feels to me like almost like the strongest point towards going early and then wild carding out of it is that, because I don't want 2 4.5 or a 5 and a 4.5 for longer than I can help it, really, because it's weakening you elsewhere. And also it's impossible to choose between goalkeepers. It doesn't matter what the fixtures are. You can't predict goalkeeper hauls. So that's why you just stick with one, and that's fine. But this messes with that. And so when we say doing an early wild card, that's the other thing. It's like it's probably tying you into 3 or 4, isn't it? I would say if you go, for me anyway, if I've gone strong on my bench, I'm going to be so wanting to get rid of that bench as quickly as possible, really. And the first fixture swing is 4, really. 3, you could go. The other option is you go without Haaland at the beginning, and then you get him in for 3. That's another one, isn't it? Or you free hit 3. But it's it's so different now with these 4 chips, because last season was the first time we had them.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people used it early, but part of that must have been, it's a fresh, shiny new toy, must use it. This season, there feels like more people are going to use it, when I would say there's way more reason not to use it this season because of the uncertainty, i.e., how likely is it that you get to pick 15 players correctly at the beginning? I don't think so. I think
super difficult.
Super hard, because we don't know who's starting. I listened to a podcast about Chelsea last night on the Planet FPL Correspondent Week, and basically it was impossible to pick any player, pretty much, apart from João Pedro, which is why he's in every team. But
Chelsea's early fixtures aren't that great. So actually, if you're on an early wildcard strategy, you probably don't want him, and I don't have him.
But it's more an indication of we don't know who's going to start. We don't know what the first lineup is going to be. We assume it's, from Chelsea point of view, assume it's Sanchez in goal, but you've got Penders there ready to come in, and Sanchez may make a mistake in the last friendly we had. It's quite likely. Colwell's got a little knock. He's a slight doubt. Lacroix's literally just come in. I'd imagine he starts, but he's expensive. There's so many unknowns, and you could go right through the Chelsea team with that.
Yeah,
Caicedo is probably okay.
You could say that. You could say that for loads of different teams. To be honest, I mean, who is absolutely nailed? And if we are doing this strategy of having the early bench boost into wildcard, you are restricting your options, I think, because you've got to have 15 nailed on players, which means Gvardiol probably not. Most Chelsea players, probably not. I mean, not that you necessarily want them, but like, who do you pick from the Arsenal attackers? I mean, it's quite difficult. Who's going to start?
Teams with Brighton players, and they've got a game in Tromsø 3 nights before the beginning of the season.
Right.
So any Brighton player you pick may well not start. And then they've got another game in Tromsø the following midweek. So even if you get it right on the game week 1, the chances of them starting game week 2 is tricky as well. So Arsenal obviously have an amazing fixture, and we might get a leak about them. But then they play Villa and Chelsea. I don't think they're that attractive. There's so much uncertainty with the late return of players that I keep getting really tempted to go into the blowing the chips early, and it's exciting. And then I think, well, hold on a minute. If we wait, and let's say Haaland gets injured game week 6, or Haaland gets injured game week 3, whatever.
Changes the game.
The game changes. If Haaland gets injured for more than, say, 3 weeks, then your bench boost, I can do a better bench boost than anyone in game week 1 or 2 is ever going to do, because I have 6.5 million even if I get Isak to spend on. So that's why it's not quite that simple, and I wish maybe
the problem you'll have is you'll have to build. You can either build to that bench boost, I guess, through transfers, or you could do a wild card to do the bench boost.
I think
but then you're stuck with those players.
But
the advantage of doing the bench boost first and then the wild card is you're not stuck with the players you've picked for your bench boost.
But then you've also got cumulative transfers now. That makes a difference. So if you can accumulate 4 or 5 transfers, then it's a whole different ballgame, because you can get Haaland back any time. Let's say it's Haaland or Bruno. So I think the waiting and seeing isn't a bad option. The scary thing is missing out on the points that I think I said to someone yesterday, it's like, I don't really mind losing out to the people who do a bench boost and get 10 points. I don't really care. I'll back myself to beat that at some point. I care about people who get 25 points by spiking something. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get that. Or, let's say I don't triple captain Haaland in 3 because I think, I'm going to do it in 7 or later on or something. And he goes and gets a hat trick. It's like, it's so hard to catch up. So
it's that FOMO though, isn't it? It's like, but the opposite is true, right? It's like, I could do it game week 3 for Coventry, but he's got Ipswich in game week 7 and he's got Hull in game week 16. So what do I want to do?
Well, we don't even know if he's fit at the moment. He hasn't even returned to training. He's
so many
still on a beach as we speak.
So as we speak, I'm on bench boost game week 1. I've clicked the button.
Are you 1 or 2 at the moment? Because you said you were looking.
I think 1 is better than 2. I mean, we can talk about it.
What's Pete on?
Yeah, same. And I was talking about it as if game week 1's the only option as well. I mean, of course, a lot of people, and maybe more at the start of the discussions, people were talking about the game week 2 bench boost because of the Coventry Hull fixture. But it seems like that's it. And you get the week delay between picking your team and getting there. I guess it takes away less jeopardy if you're just going in game week 1 as well, because that's how it how it turns out is how it turns out. Whereas game week 2 will feel a little bit more like you might have to bail out of the decision. I don't know if you get a couple of people that aren't picked, or you get an injury game week 1. You've only got 1 transfer to correct.
Can you imagine if your Coventry defender gets injured and you have to spend your 1 transfer getting another Coventry defender in for your bench boost? I mean, that's the best. That's almost the best case scenario, because how often do you look at the end of game week 1 if you're 15 and go, I'm happy with all of them? Never. I don't think I've ever had that in my life in however 20 seasons. So that's what you're asking. You're basically saying, okay, you don't care about the Coventry ones, but you're saying for game week 2, I need to be happy with the rest of them, other than 1, because I can make 1 move. that feels so. But the risk is so low with game week 2 because Coventry players, if you get 2 defenders who are 4.0, that's the lowest risk you can take because you've still maximum finance in your team.
And of course, there's a chance that they do get the clean sheet as well. So you could
Well,
have a
and if they
really
do,
easy.
let's say you
successful
take the
bench
Coventry
boost.
goalkeeper and the two 4.0s that play, and if they get a clean sheet and you get all 3, then you're looking at least 20 points for those 3 players. Realistically, because you get 18 and then you know you're going to get a DEFCON or a save or whatever, and bonus as well. I mean, God, it could be 25, 30 points. I mean, it's scary how high it could be. Plus another player. So
it's a big if, though, Chris, isn't it? If Coventry get a clean sheet,
it's a big if. Except Hull have got no players except for Ollie McBurney, and last year they played twice and it was 0-0 both games. So there's. Strange. Last season, people did this with Burnley, right? In game week 2, I think it was. And Burnley, they had Estev and Dubravka. And Burnley played Sunderland, I think, at home in game week 2. And Burnley won. And they got the clean sheet. And not many people did it. But the people who did, obviously, had huge hauls from 2 players. So the temptation with the Coventry, that was the one I was more interested in. But the risk is so high in getting there, I think. But then
the other thing as well is like we're talking about building our team around Coventry players.
Well, no, building our bench.
Well, it's going to have knock-on effects to the rest of the squad.
Well, yes, but that's when you wild card, isn't it? But
but for those, it just feels like I don't know, philosophically feels
I agree.
a bit wrong. And the other thing as well is that the whole thing around the early bench boost, when do we do that, and doing the wild card, and when do we do that? A lot of it is circles around what we do with our second goalkeeper. And a bit of me's thinking like, why am I making decisions about my second goalkeeper? It's like the least important player in my squad. Why am I setting my whole strategy for the first few game weeks of the season around the least important player in the squad? And there's another thing we could think about here. Is like, start the season as we normally do, 4.0 goalkeeper, whatever, play the bench boost when we feel like, oh yeah, the bench looks pretty good, I'll play my bench boost now. Still got my 4.0 keeper. So what? I'm playing with 14 rather than 15 players. What's my second goalkeeper realistically going to get me anyway? I mean, he might get me a clean sheet. It's pretty unlikely. The most likely outcome is he's going to get 2 points at best. 2 points.
Yeah, it's true.
So why are we making a decision? Why are we making all these decisions about the 2 points that we may or may not get?
And saying that, so
Seems a bit mad.
And so a lot of the people going for the game week 1 have got Verbruggen and Kinski, and that's Spurs against Brentford and Brighton against Villa. So they're by no means
not going to get a clean sheet.
Yeah, neither of them look good for a clean sheet.
Whereas you could have Lamans and a 4.0, and you'd be a bit more. You'd think you've got a better chance, or even go Donnarumma and a 4.0. You got or Raya or something. It's like you just I'm definitely of the. I get the temptation, and I'm totally got the FOMO, and I definitely am going to use a chip early on. Probably 3 for the triple captain feels pretty obvious if he's firing.
Yeah.
To be honest, if he isn't firing, does it really matter? He's going to be over 200% EO that week. I think that's penciled in. 4 is really interesting because Chelsea play Hull in 4. So Chelsea look good in the first 3 weeks. They're home to Hull. Everyone's going to be desperate to get in Rodgers and whoever from the back. Probably be Penders in goal by then.
Palestra, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, absolutely. He might be, like a throwback to the olden days with an attacking winger, attacking fullback. But so I guess the other thing is looking at when the alternatives are. So we talked about Haaland. Game week 3, game week 7 is Ipswich, I think, isn't it?
Ipswich,
and it's now a best game week score prize.
And
is it? That's good. Okay, and then game week 16, which is miles away, but
Hull.
it is City against Hull, and it's also a week where there's no games before or afterwards
Interesting.
either side.
So
So
there's no European football.
there's no European football before, and then it's Christmas afterwards. So the next game's a Boxing Day. So you've got a good 6 days off afterwards. So Haaland is playing 90 minutes in that game, if he's fit, unless something changes that we don't know about. And also, it's also Arsenal Man United that day, so you're not going to be captaining Bruno away to Arsenal, worst fixture of the season for him. So that's something that's interesting. I mean, if you didn't do it then, you could hold it for that. But stats guys will probably tell you, anyone looking at the stats will probably tell you that Bruno game week 2 is the best opportunity to use your triple captain, even more than Haaland in game week 3, because Bruno, his base is higher. Bruno only has to get an assist and he can get 10 points, whereas Haaland needs to get 2 goals for that. Okay, that's probably a slight exaggeration, but you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So, have you even considered Bruno for triple captain, either of you?
No.
No.
I wish I could play like that. I wish I could play captaining, against the grain each week, or
It's not against the grain. That's not against the grain. I think that's what the stats will say for that week.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody's going to do it. I think it's massive sort of differential rather than template territory doing that.
Yeah, I just think it's when people are talking about alternatives, it's interesting to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's not that it's not been talked about. It absolutely has. Yeah.
Bench boost game week 1, and then you could go Bruno triple captain game week 2, and then you could free hit in 3 if you wanted to. I mean, there is obviously a world where people are going to use all 4 chips in the first 4 weeks. And if you do that, you should be in the top 10k. Like, why wouldn't you be on the top 50k?
I mean, game week 4 for the free hit with the Man United City match is quite interesting, and obviously when City play Liverpool and Arsenal.
That's game week 4 or 6, exactly like you said. You've got 2 big teams playing each other. That feels like free hit used to be, you use it for tactical things, and there's not that many fixture swings this season in the league. And we obviously don't have anything really major in the first half of the season to worry about. So it could be as simple as Man City and Arsenal playing each other, or Liverpool and Man City playing each other, and you think, right, I don't want 5 players playing in that game.
Yeah,
I'll free hit that week. And that feels like an easy way to free hit. Obviously, you can also combine it with. Last year, I think I did nothing in game week 1, free hit game week 2, wildcard game week 3, and that's quite good because it gives you. I basically have 3 wildcards in a row. So I started off quite well. I actually wished last season when I was playing, I stopped using chips then, and I wish I'd carried on and used the triple captain earlier as well and kept that going. But that was last season. That's how last season worked. There's no reason it's the same this season, and we didn't have the World Cup last season, which does make a difference. It always does make a difference.
I think this is pertinent in terms of what our good friend Mark Tarbox has been saying over on the comments. So, he's saying, and I think it's a great point. We've touched on it, but how are you sure your first 11 is going to start, let alone the bench? And it's a really good point. There's no data. You've got to mental. That's also a really good point.
There we go.
Because and this goes back to the point I think I made earlier, which is you are having to go for players who are nailed. As much as we know from we've seen in pre-season and everything else, and what we know from past seasons, and that does limit your choices. It does. You couldn't assume that someone like a Saka is going to start. You can't assume that someone like a Gvardiol is going to start. Even Rice and Rodgers, right? Mr. Invincibles are going to play 90 minutes every game. I don't think either of them start the first week. Very good. Very good. Very likely that neither will, for sure. Sure.
Well, I think if we've actually decided anything there, or we've just confused ourselves, but I think it's been useful to discuss it. Pete, I'm going to come to you for the sort of final thoughts. Where are you thinking of going? What's your kind of, I don't know, just give us some thoughts on chips.
I mean, as ever, I'm going to wait for the final weekend of pre-season matches and Charity Shield and hope that something comes out of that helps me into a decision. But the remembering my difficulties bringing a keeper in order to bench boost last season means that I'm very much thinking of doing game week 1. However, our little Coventry Hole chat made me think that I'd love to punt on the game week 2 bench boost, and yeah.
Okay, well,
Anyway,
yeah,
I've never seen them play, so we'll see. We'll see what happens over the weekend.
Yeah, I love picking players I've never heard of.
Yeah,
and then relying on them to get me clean sheets and things.
Yeah, brilliant.
Too right.
And what about you, Bakes? Any final thoughts?
Well, like I said at the start, I'm on currently I've clicked the button for a game week 1 bench boost. I'm not committed at all, and I do see a world in which I go, no, it's as Mark has rightly said, it's a bit mental, and maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just go the traditional route, start the season like I always would. Maybe triple captain, game week 3 on Haaland. I always wild card early anyway, game weeks 3 or 4. So I'll probably do that again and then go from there. So that's the other option. I would say I'm probably as close to 50-50 on that as I'm.
Yeah, I think I'm about 51, 49, and I can't even remember which way I am. So not very helpful. But I think it's been useful chatting about it, definitely. Hopefully anyone who's watched has got something from it. We're going to try and do one more of these next week if we can squeeze one in where we do some team reveals, which is always a fun part of the pre-season. So yeah, thank you, Pete, and thank you, Bakes, for joining me for this. We'll announce the draw, the best manager of the week draw on the site, and we'll be back soon. Yeah, but enjoy the rest of the pre-season, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.